Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Romancing the Stone is a 1984 action-adventure romantic comedy film that was directed by Robert Zemeckis and was written by Diane Thomas. It was produced by Michael Douglas, who also starred in the movie alongside co-stars Kathleen Turner and Danny DeVito. The story follows Joan Wilder, who's a talented, still single, and incurable romantic that's a famous best-selling romance novelist, as she sees her orderly life turned upside down when she receives a desperate message from her kidnapped sister and a well-worn treasure map. Under those circumstances, and having no other option but to play along, the utterly unprepared girl leaves New York behind and gets involved in a real-life rescue mission deep in the rainforest of Colombia, all the while wearing her fashionable ensemble and her high heels. Joan's only hope of success rests in the capable hands of the handsome and reckless fortune seeker Jack Colton, who itches to beat the local mountain bandits at their own game. Initially, the cast could have looked completely different. Sylvester Stallone at one time was considered for the role of Jack Colton. They also thought about other leads that included Burt Reynolds, Clint Eastwood, Paul Newman, and Christopher Reeve. Deborah Winger was looked at for the Joan Wilder character. The movie was set in Colombia, but it wasn't filmed there. In a case of life imitating art, reports of American kidnappings in Colombia forced the production to be done in Mexico. Most of the filming locations were around Veracruz, Mexico, with some parts of the film shot in Snow Canyon, Utah. The film got Robert Zemeckis fired from the movie Cocoon. After viewing a rough cut of this film, studio executives at 20th Century Fox believed the movie would be just a complete bomb. To hedge their bets, they fired Zemeckis from the then under development of the movie Cocoon, with Ron Howard taking over the role as director. But Zemeckis had the last laugh after all. This film became such a huge hit that it gave the director the green light to make Back to the Future. With some parallels to Steven Spielberg's 1981 hit Raiders of the Lost Ark, critics panned this movie as a ripoff of the Indiana Jones franchise. But the truth was that the screenplay had actually been written 5 years earlier. The director and Kathleen Turner didn't get along at all on the set. Turner once said that they had terrible arguments while they were working together. She stated that he was a film school graduate fascinated by cameras and special effects, and that she never felt like he knew what she was having to do to adjust her acting to the cameras and the angles that he was setting up. He would put her in ridiculous postures, and she didn't like to work that way at all. Wonder Woman's stunt double was used for that famous mudslide scene. Janine Epper, who was the stunt double for Linda Carter in the 1970s television series, was the one that did the stunt for Kathleen Turner on that mudslide scene. The filming of the movie was actually pretty dangerous. It was plagued with rain, mud, bugs, and alligators. Not to mention all the stunts and action sequences were done live. After an action sequence involving an alligator, the gator managed to get free and swim away. Trainers tracked the gator down, but one of them was attacked by it. That alligator took the trainer's hand and spun him around and took him down under the water. The crew was able to get the man free and get him to a hospital to save his mauled hand. In the famous dance scene, Michael Douglas wasn't aware that he was being filmed when it was filmed. Douglas was dancing with Kathleen Turner and some extras, and was surprised to find out that Robert Zemeckis had been filming the entire time they were dancing. When Michael Douglas originally read the script, he was intrigued by it, despite some initial hesitation. But he was ultimately won back and decided to do the film because he wanted the opportunity to exhibit the rock climbing skills that he had honed as a teenager. When he was around 16 years old, he would enjoy rock climbing with his father during breaks in the filming of Spartacus from 1960, which was shot largely in Death Valley, California. Now, there was a rumor that kind of ran rampant after the film was done that Michael Douglas was bitten on the hand by a venomous snake during production, and that Danny DeVito saved him by immediately sucking the venom out of his hand. Michael Douglas later stated on an episode of Late Night with Seth Meyers that story just wasn't true. The phrase romancing the stone is actually jeweler's jargon. The phrase has actually taken on a few other meanings over the years, but it originally referred to a step in preparing a gem for use in jewelry. The scene in which Joan offers to pay Jack T. Colton in traveler's checks, and he asks, "Are they American Express?" is a reference to the American Express commercials that featured Carl Malden, who previously co-starred with Michael Douglas in The Streets of San Francisco. The screenwriter who wrote the film was Diane Thomas. She was working on this project while she was a waitress at the Coral Beach Cantina on Pacific Coast Highway in California. The sale of this screenplay was more or less a Cinderella story itself. Thomas pitched the story directly to Douglas when the actor happened to come upon her in the cafe as a customer. Michael Douglas optioned the script for $250,000, allowing her to quit that job. But sadly, Thomas died in a car accident in October of 1985, just weeks before the sequel to this movie was released, that being Jewel of the Nile. Michael Douglas was so happy about how well the film did that he purchased a Porsche for her and gave it to her as a present for coming up with the film. In a surprising twist, she was killed in that car that she got for doing this successful script. Go back and take a look at this really good film from 1984. I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.